Rachel sat at her small wooden desk, the soft morning light slipping through the curtains. She held her tablet in her hands and took a deep breath. Today, she would record the next episode of her spoken English learning video podcast. She wanted something different this time, something that would touch her listeners' hearts and keep them on the edge of their seats. She needed an emotional and suspenseful story, one that simple English learners could follow, practice, and remember. She picked up a blank notebook and began to write. Her pen moved slowly but steadily. She wanted to introduce a character who felt real, someone with a heartbeat and a secret. She wrote the name Alex at the top of the page. Alex stood by the window, staring at the empty street below. The sun had not yet risen, and the world outside was quiet. He ran his fingers through his dark hair and sighed. He had been waiting for a message. For what felt like days, his phone sat silent on the table behind him. No calls, no texts, only the soft hum of the city waking up. Alex had come to this small town only a month ago. He was a journalist by trade, and he wanted to write a story about how people lived in quiet places. He thought it would be easy. He thought the people here would welcome him. But something felt off from the moment he arrived. Earlier that week, Alex had checked into a dusty old inn at the edge of town. The walls were painted a fading yellow, and the air smelled of old books and lavender. The inn's owner, Mrs. Gardner, was a kind woman with silver hair and bright eyes. She welcomed him with a warm smile, but warned him to be careful. Some stories are better left untold, she said quietly as she handed him the key. This town has its secrets. Alex had laughed it off. He believed in facts. He believed in truth. Yet, late at night, he would lie in bed listening to strange sounds outside his window, footsteps, a distant voice, a door creaking. He told himself it was just the wind, but he felt his heart race whenever he heard the noises. Back in the present, Alex's phone finally buzzed on the table. He jumped. With trembling fingers, he picked it up and read the message. Sequel copy edit, meet me at the old lighthouse, midnight. Come alone. S. Alex's pulse quickened. Who was S? And why did they want to meet him at the lighthouse? The lighthouse stood on a rocky cliff, far from any streetlights. It had not been used for years. Locals said it was haunted by memories. He remembered Mrs. Gardner's warning. Some stories are better left untold. Now he wondered if he was in over his head. Rachel paused her writing and took a sip of tea. Her heart felt light but excited. She could imagine her listeners leaning forward as she spoke these words. She would read slowly, clearly, pausing at key moments to help them practice pronunciation. She wrote, "The next chapter will be tense. Speak each sentence aloud. Feel the emotion in your voice." She returned to her story. Alex left his room at 11:30. He locked the inn door behind him and stepped into the cool night air. The street lamps cast long shadows on the cobblestone road. He could see the old lighthouse in the distance, a tall, white tower that seemed to reach for the sky. Its windows were dark, as if it were a giant watching over a sleeping town. He walked quickly, his shoes clicking against the stones. With each step, his mind raced. What did they want to tell him? What secret lay hidden in that abandoned tower? Halfway there, he felt someone watching him. He stopped. The night was still. He listened. Nothing moved. He shook his head and walked on. At the lighthouse gate, Alex paused. He was 10 minutes early. He looked around. No one was in sight. The sea crashed loudly against the cliff below, as if it wanted to rob him of his thoughts. He climbed the worn stone steps that led to the entrance. The wooden door was chipped and cracked, but it stood firm. He pushed it open with a creak. Inside, the air smelled of salt and old metal. Moonlight filtered through a broken window, creating a pattern of light and shadow on the floor. He called out, his voice echoing, "Hello? Is anyone here?" No answer. The silence felt heavy. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. Alex's breath caught in his throat. A tall man stepped forward, his face hidden beneath the hood. Alex's mind raced. Was this the mysterious S? He could not see the man's eyes, but he felt a gaze that felt cold and sharp. The man spoke in a low voice, "Alex, you came." Alex swallowed. He tried to sound steady. "Who are you? Why did you call me here?" The man did not answer at once. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope. He handed it to Alex. "Read this. You will understand." With trembling hands, Alex took the envelope. He felt the paper was thick and heavy. He broke the seal and unfolded the letter inside. His eyes moved quickly across the lines. "Sequel copy edit, you are closer than you think to the truth. Your father's disappearance was not an accident. Meet me again, tomorrow at noon at the old library. Come alone. S." Alex felt his world tilt. His father had vanished 10 years ago. The police had called it a tragic accident, a fall near the lighthouse. But now this letter said otherwise. His father had a secret that might be dangerous, a secret that someone wanted to keep hidden. The hooded man turned and vanished into the shadows as quickly as he had appeared. Alex stood alone in the empty lighthouse, the letter trembling in his hand. He felt a chill run down his spine. His heart pounded like a drum. He wanted to run away. He wanted to scream, but he knew he had to face this. He had to find the truth. He turned and left the lighthouse. The wind howled around him as if warning him to stop. But he did not stop. He walked quickly back to the inn, his mind racing with questions. Who was S? Why did they trust him with this information? And what had really happened to his father? Rachel heard the clock on her desk chime 10 times. She smiled as she read Alex's thoughts. She imagined her listeners' voices, repeating each sentence after her. "I have to find the truth." They would practice, and she would guide them. She wrote, "Pause here. Ask yourself, what would I do if I were Alex?" She continued writing. The next morning, the sun was bright and warm. Alex sat at a small table in the inn's dining room. He pushed his plate of toast and jam away, his appetite gone. He stared at the letter in his hand. How could he meet S at the old library at noon? He had so many questions. He wished Mrs. Gardner had never said anything. He wished he had stayed in his room, safe and alone. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. It was Mrs. Gardner herself. She looked worried. She held a steaming cup of coffee in her hand. "You look tired, dear," she said softly. "I thought you might like some coffee." Alex forced a smile. He thanked her. She sat down across from him, her kind eyes studying his face. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said. He nodded. He wanted to ask her if she knew anything about his father's disappearance. He wanted to ask her about the lighthouse, but he stayed silent. Mrs. Gardner sighed. "This town can be hard on newcomers," she said. "It hides things. Some people don't like to talk about the past." Alex felt a flicker of hope. "Do you know anything about my father?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Gardner's face grew serious. She looked away, as if she did not want to meet his gaze. "I'm sorry," she said after a long pause. I know nothing, but be careful, Alex. Some truths can hurt more than lies. Rachel paused again. She wrote a note in her script. Use this moment to practice past simple. I wished, I asked, she said. Speak slowly. She took a deep breath and returned to the story. At noon, Alex walked to the old library. The town's library was a grand building of worn brick and tall windows. But this library was not open to the public. It was a private collection owned by Mr. Tobias, a reclusive scholar who studied local history. Many townspeople whispered that he had strange ideas and odd habits. No one knew exactly what he kept in his library, but everyone treated the place with fear and respect. Alex approached the heavy wooden doors. He saw a slim man standing in the archway. Mr. Tobias. He looked thin, with sharp features and spectacles that gleamed in the light. His hair was silver and his coat was old-fashioned. He looked at Alex with an expression of curiosity and caution. Alex, Mr. Tobias said, I see you have the letter. Alex nodded and handed it to him. Mr. Tobias read it quickly, his eyes moving over the lines like a bird's wings. When he finished, he folded the letter and slipped it into his coat pocket. I owe your father a great debt, Mr. Tobias said, his voice low. He trusted me with something important, something he knew would be dangerous. Alex swallowed. He felt his mouth go dry. What did he trust you with? He asked. Mr. Tobias looked around as if frightened someone might be listening. He stepped closer to Alex. He carried a journal, he said, a journal that revealed secrets about the town's founders. He believed those secrets could change everything. Dangerous, powerful people wanted those secrets to stay hidden. Alex's heart pounded. Where is the journal? He asked. Mr. Tobias hesitated. Your father left it here in a hidden room. I thought it would be safe, but after he disappeared, I feared for my life. So I locked it away. Now, someone is looking for it again. Someone who will kill to get it. Alex felt a chill. He realized that his father had been more than a simple man. He had been brave. He had risked everything to find the truth. Alex closed his eyes and took a shaky breath. Where is this hidden room? He asked. Mr. Tobias looked at him for a long moment. Then he whispered, Follow me. They walked down a narrow hallway lined with dusty shelves of old books. Cobwebs hung in the corners. The air smelled of parchment and memory. Mr. Tobias stopped at a bookshelf that looked like all the others. He placed his hand on a thick volume titled History of the Coast. He slid the book forward, and with a soft grinding sound, a section of the shelf swung open to reveal a hidden staircase. Alex felt his throat tighten. He stepped carefully down the stairs. Mr. Tobias followed him. The staircase led to a small, dimly lit room. In the center of the room stood a wooden chest bound with iron. Mr. Tobias took a key from his coat pocket and inserted it into the lock. He turned it slowly. The chest creaked open. Inside was a leather-bound journal, yellowed with age. Alex picked it up, his fingers trembling. He opened it to the first page. The handwriting was his father's neat, clear, determined. He read aloud in a soft voice, If you are reading this, then I trusted you with my life's work. This journal holds the truth about our town's past. The founders made a promise of power and wealth. They hid a terrible secret. I discovered their plans and tried to expose them. Now I fear they will come for me and for whoever follows in my footsteps. Alex felt tears gather in his eyes. He closed the journal and held it tight. He realized that his father had given him a gift and a burden. He had to finish what his father started. He had to reveal the truth. Suddenly, they heard a noise above them. Footsteps. Quick footsteps. Someone was coming down the stairs. Mr. Tobias's face hardened. "Hide," he whispered. They slipped behind the chest just as the door to the room burst open. A tall man in a dark suit and hat stepped into the room. His eyes were cold, and he held a flashlight in one hand. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on the open chest and the journal. Alex's heart pounded so loudly he could hear it. He wanted to run, but he did not move. He felt frozen. The man in the suit moved closer. He knelt and picked up the journal. He said, his voice smooth and cruel. "So this is it." Alex felt a surge of anger. He stepped forward and reached for the journal. But the man swung the journal behind him, out of reach. "Stay back," he warned. Mr. Tobias stepped out from behind the chest. "Put the journal down," he said, his voice trembling but strong. "You don't know what you're dealing with." The man in the suit smiled. "I know exactly what I'm dealing with," he said. "I deal in power, and this journal is worth more than gold." Alex felt his heart sink. He looked at his father's name on the leather cover and felt a surge of determination. He refused to let this man take the journal. He took a step forward. "You'll never get away with this," he said, his voice shaking. The man laughed. "You," he scoffed, "a boy with nothing but a dusty journal? You can't stop me." Suddenly, Alex heard something shift behind him. He turned quickly and saw Mr. Tobias holding a small iron rod. The scholar had not always been so weak, Alex remembered. Years ago, Mr. Tobias had been a boxer. Now, in this moment, his training returned. He swung the rod at the man's legs. The man screamed and dropped the journal. It fell to the floor with a heavy thud. Alex rushed forward and grabbed the journal. He held it to his chest, feeling its weight and its power. The man in the suit scrambled to his feet and reached for a gun hidden in his coat. Alex felt a surge of fear. He dove behind the chest as a loud bang echoed through the room. The bullet struck the wall and sent a shower of plaster across the floor. Alex's ears rang. He pressed his back against the chest, shaking. He could still smell the gunpowder in the air. Mr. Tobias shouted, "Stay down." Alex kept his eyes on the door. He heard footsteps retreating up the staircase. He waited, his breath loud in his ears. Finally, everything was silent again. He stood slowly and walked toward Mr. Tobias. The scholar was breathing hard, his face pale. Alex handed him the journal. "We have to get out of here," Alex said. "We have to tell the truth." Mr. Tobias nodded. He helped Alex to his feet, and they climbed the staircase as quickly as they could. They emerged into the library's main hall, where the tall windows let in bright afternoon light. Alex blinked, adjusting to the sun. He realized he felt different, stronger, more determined. Rachel smiled as she read the next lines. She knew her listeners would feel the tension when they spoke these words. She wrote, "Read with emotion. Feel the fear, then feel the courage." Alex and Mr. Tobias reached the library doors. Outside, the town seemed peaceful. People walked along the streets, unaware of what had happened inside the old building. Alex felt a surge of relief that the danger was behind him, at least for now. But he knew it was not over. Someone still had the journal. Someone would stop at nothing to keep the town's secret hidden. He had to move fast. He turned to Mr. Tobias. "What do we do now?" he asked. Mr. Tobias's eyes were sad. "We take the journal to the town square," he said. "We show it to everyone. We make the truth public." Alex nodded. He felt a knot of fear in his stomach, but he also felt a spark of hope. His father had given him this chance. He would not run away. He would face the danger head-on. That evening, Alex stood in the town square. A small crowd gathered around him. They had heard rumors of a secret meeting. They had come to see what was happening. Alex held the leather journal in his hands, its weight heavy but real. He took a deep breath and opened it to the first page. He spoke clearly, "My name is Alex Harris. This journal belonged to my father, Jonathan Harris. He came here 10 years ago to research our town's history. He found a secret that changed everything. Tonight, I want to share that secret with you." Alex paused. He looked at the faces in the crowd. Some were curious, some were skeptical, and some looked frightened. He continued, his voice steady. "This journal shows that our town's founders, Jonathan Reed, Samuel Blake, and Eliza Moore, made a secret pact. They agreed to hide the truth about the land this town stands on. They built this town on land that did not belong to them. They forced the original owners to leave. They promised to protect their secret with money and power. My father discovered this and tried to make it public. He paid with his life." A gasp went through the crowd. Alex felt tears in his eyes. He forced himself to continue. "I have the evidence. In these pages, you will see the truth. If we do not face it, we can never move forward. If we do not admit our mistakes, we can never heal." He closed the journal and looked up. "I ask you to read it. I ask you to share it. And I ask you to stand with me to build a better future." Silence settled over the square. Alex felt his heart pounding. He waited. Then, a voice called out, "Show us the proof." Alex nodded and opened the journal to a marked page. He read aloud the transcribed letters of the founders, the maps, the signatures. He spoke slowly so everyone could hear, so every English learner could practice the words, the phrases, the emotions. As he read, he watched faces change. Some people lowered their heads in shame. Others looked angry. A few nodded in understanding. A sense of unity began to form. When he finished, Mr. Tobias stepped forward and spoke in his gentle voice, "Truth is the foundation of peace. Now that we know, we can learn from it." Rachel took a deep breath and read the final lines herself. She ended the story with an emotional note. Alex and the town faced the truth. They chose to be brave. They chose to forgive. She wrote a closing remark for her listeners. "Thank you for listening. Practice the words. Feel the emotions. Share your own story." She smiled as she saved her script. She knew that the story would help her audience practice spoken English and also teach them about courage, truth, and forgiveness. She imagined someone in a quiet room, listening, repeating each line, feeling the suspense, and understanding the power of speaking with heart.